Buddy, good afternoon. How's it going? We've so if you believe the weatherman hype on social media, we're gonna get like 30 inches of snow here in Knoxville this week. I don't know if that's happening. It sounds pretty crazy, but that'd be uh that'd be pretty freaking wild if that actually played out. So then what was funny is, like 4 replies down, somebody's like, well, my model shows like 1 inch of snow, maybe. For like the same area. And it's kind of funny. Weathermen never know what happens. So we'll see what happens. If it snows 30 inches here, this place is going to be crippled. Like, I'm not going to be able, I won't even be able to open the door of the house probably. We don't get snow like that here. Last time it even snowed 10 inches, I was like, didn't go anywhere for like a week. So that was like, what, 2 years ago? Right after we did the Turnmire Trading Lab in-person event. So anyway, that'd be absolutely crazy. But so looking at what's going on. We've got this Greenland Euro trade war back and forth junk. Svenborn out there in Iceland. I'm sure he'd find it more convenient to just become a part of the United States all the times he comes back here. But I don't know. Do we have the right to take it? Do we not have the right to take it? I mean, it's kind of ridiculous, fighting over it. But, it's more about defense than it is anything else. Because if Russia and or China or some other bad actor were to move into Greenland, set up bases, set up shop, it's kind of a strategic problem for the United States. See, right now, anything that gets launched from, any ICBMs, intercontinental ballistic missiles, that were to get launched from Russia or China, that would go over the poles, which is kind of like the most direct route, would have to go right over Greenland. And that's primarily why Trump wants Greenland, is to have the ability to stop any, intercept anything coming, especially with all these hypersonic missiles and stuff like that. So, are we going to are we going to fire up a trade war over this? I don't know. Trump issued a stern letter to Denmark today. It's all just crazy. The EU discussing $108 billion in retaliatory tariffs. Could deploy anti-coercion instruments worth $8 trillion worth of fallout for U.S. assets. Not sure exactly what that means. So far, though, Trump has threatened 200% tariff on French wines. And it's not like, we're one of the largest consumers, but it's not like that really matters. But it's not really a joke at all. It's kind of a full-blown tit for tat. But you have to remember, art of the deal. Trump is going to say the most outrageous stuff, get everybody upset, and then dial it back into what he really wants. He's done this all 4 years he was president last time. He's done it for a whole year already, getting everybody all upset, tariffs to galore, and then dialing everything back. So it's he's just going to get everybody all fired up about it and then bring it all back. And it's just kind of the way it goes. It's just the way it goes. Then we have Netflix earnings that just came out, and apparently Netflix getting punished a little bit already. So before we get into all that, all trading involves a substantial risk of loss. Past performance not necessarily indicative of future results. This presentation, as always, intended to be informational, educational, fun, entertaining, not a recommendation to be buying or selling any financial instrument. It is not a recommendation to be buying to buying stocks, buying options, buying Forex, buying futures, buying bonds, buying cryptos. Stocks, options, bonds, Forex, futures, cryptos, treasuries. You buy any of those, you trade them, you might lose money. And Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and fire off the countdown. So we'll switch over about 3 minutes after the top of the hour to a members only stream. You can say he can't get whatever without whatever, but you know, people go take stuff all the time. You can say Russia shouldn't get Ukraine without a formal whatever, but they just went and took it. So people take stuff all the time. It's not really what we would envision. You know, only 17% of the U.S. supports going to take Greenland at this point, but could happen. So could very well happen. Anyway, welcome to the show. Netflix, check it out. Poking down below the bottom of the box. So, as I mentioned with Jack earlier today, if Netflix gets below this low right in here, we actually start below that 60s, probably the next stop. And then if we get below that, 20s. Yikes. So I don't have a good feeling for a floor on Netflix, and I did play for a bounce up here, but it hasn't really started bouncing, so watch out below. We could be on this kind of retrace right in here. You know, we did make a big low back here. We did make a big high up here, and a 618 retrace would be down here in the 60s. Might be what we're heading for. Now, the blue line that goes over here was, or is, the high that we broke out from. So it's possible that we find support at the top of that breakout line, similar to other things. When we break out, go on to make a high and come back to retest before we can find its support and go higher again. Entirely possible. So somewhere down in the 60-70 region would be where I would expect to find support. Could overshoot just a little bit before we bounce and take us down to the low 60s, even 50s. But if we don't hold on to that, it's probably coming down here to the 20s, back to the lows, maybe even 16. That's no bueno. No bueno. So we'll see what happens there. And if it's on a log scale, things get even spicier here. We could actually see this dip even deeper for that 618 retrace. Definitely could get spicy here. That was a big, deep drop off down there. Big rip right off that low. We can come back and visit it. So, I don't know. There's a lot of competition. Doesn't seem to be a big barriers to entry into streaming services. But we're seeing some mergers, acquisitions, consolidations. You know, Netflix trying to buy out the Warner Brothers properties. Is that a good deal? Is it a bad deal? Are they cursed? Is it the Joker curse? I don't know. You know, Warner Brothers Discovery trying to break out from this $30 consolidation here, and if it actually could get some upside going, see a bigger upside take hold. Be interesting. So arguably Netflix is the first of big tech to fire off in earnings. The fact that they're getting absolute punch in the face, you know, punished, doesn't necessarily bode well for the rest of big tech. We'll see what happens. But down near the bottom, where we last found support, just about a year ago, though. We were down here January 13th. Now here we are again. So we'll see if I can right the ship, or if this is gonna go on a bigger, deeper correction. Looking around a few other things, natural gas with this snowpocalypse potential. Seeing one of the biggest rips that we've seen. in a while. Biggest single day rips. And that's still a set of lower highs, still the downtrend. And we are still set to go make a bottom out here somewhere in March, April, May, based on the seasonality chart. If you've not seen this before, seasonality of natural gas usually makes a low sometime in March, April, and then we go make the high sometime there. Come on, peek it out for me. There it is. Sometime in late December, we usually peak, and we peaked this year early December, carried it on down. So we front ran the cycle just a little bit. How do you see this? It's on TradingView. You just pull up natural gas and look at the forward curve. More gas coming online indicates lower prices. In general, we don't really move natural gas very much. So stuff like UNG just kind of gets pummeled into the dirt, and Boyle also just kind of gets pummeled into the dirt. And even cold, which is the inverse, just kind of gets pummeled into the dirt over time. It's very difficult to trade natural gas and make any money. So be careful out there. Be careful out there trading those. A couple other things we'll take a look at. Silver, absolute parabolic. Just posted a meme about the only thing that can stop this baby is Jim Cramer getting super bullish on it, probably. And if we go to the historic ratio, gold to silver, 15 to 1, that means there's 15 times more silver in the Earth's crust than there is gold. So the price tends to be 15 times more for gold than it is silver. And if we go to the historic ratio here at 47.65, divide that by 15, it would be north of 300. That could be a big upside from here. Another 3x higher. That'd be pretty good, but at the same time, the higher this goes, the bigger the pullbacks can be, and it not even be much of a hiccup. You know, we're going to probably see more volatility as we go higher. VIX had a little bit of a day today, spiking in the 20s. Nice. This was probably the spike that I was looking for. We don't typically run VIX hot without a pullback, kind of backfilling. Usually when we get a big spike, it only lasts for a day or three, and then we pull back unless some sort of event freaks us out even more. April last year took us a bit higher. So is this like a prelude to going higher in April, or is this going to be one of these that just kind of stalls out in the 20s like so many of these before, and we get the all calm? So is it going to be an outlier type event, go higher, or do we come back down? If you missed out on this, you're probably too late. As far as trend goes, there's no real trend on this. So I'm a trend pullback continuation trader. If you've not seen me before, link right under me. Channel homepage gives you this orange line, tells you how to use it, gives you the code for it. If you're like, I'm not really a code type person, I call it my market roadmap line. Well, lucky for you, I have a link in the description, just down below the link for the channel homepage. And that has a $5 special right now for the market roadmap. I give you like a watch list for 3 weeks of stuff that's bouncing off of it. And so I have to open a list and take a look. See right here, the 20th. Right there, the 18th. PepsiCo. Doing a little bounce here. So here was the high. Here was the low. There's the close above the 618. Sets that up for an upside right there. 154. So that's how that works right there in a nutshell. Looking for a trend, a pullback, and a continuation. Although, is it an uptrend or is this a downtrend? So PepsiCo may not be the best example here, but it is a setup nonetheless. YPF, another one with a high right here, a low right here. Looking for this to get the bounce. This hasn't actually hasn't made a bounce yet to get the upside here, 41. Now in the morning show, I do go through these that are actually set up with entries, but they don't necessarily have options. Like some of the ones today, like CME had a really nice entry, 291 upside, but maybe not the most liquid options. So every morning in the morning show, I do go through a list of tickers that are set up with an entry today with a target and a stop. Stop is always $1 below the low, by the way. So this is one of the patterns I'm going to use to look at your stocks. Another one is what I call a measured bounce. Usually you have price coming down, something like this. You'll get a bounce of some sort, and then you'll get a retrace of that bounce. Now, this can go either way. It could be price coming up and we get a dip and we get a retrace of that dip. A lot of times you'll see me identify it this way, where we get a move up, a retrace of some sort, and then we get a bounce like this. And when you run the fibs, that's 618 right there. That's the measured bounce for continuation lower. This one down here would be a continuation higher. So we'd be looking for continuation up here, or we'd be looking for continuation down here. Now, very commonly, I will draw these as ABC corrections. So I use this to find where price might take a turn that maybe doesn't support what you're thinking. And I call them measured bounces. And the difference between this being an ABC and the start of a new trend that would be numbered in a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fashion is how far this arrow moves. Now, typically when it's a ABC type of move, we would stall out somewhere right in the 100% range. And that's where we get equality on that move and this move. Same goes for the bearish one. We get equality on the first move and the second move down. Now, if we were to extend that on down to a 1618, get a little further move either direction, that tips the odds that we'll get a small pullback that doesn't overlap that and get continuation, or get a small pullback that doesn't overlap that and get continuation. So hopefully that wasn't too confusing for anybody. But I combined those two things together to try to evaluate stocks. And we're coming to that point of the show where I'm going to do requests for at least 30 minutes. We'll flip over to an Ask Me Anything at 6 o'clock for channel members. If your name's in green, you got a star. We'll do a Ask Me Anything until basically the questions stop. And I decide to go home. So without further ado, the rules of the game are capital letters, 1 request per person per request. Wait for at least 2, preferably 3 other people to go before you ask again. If anybody's dominating the chat just ridiculously, I may start skipping you, even if you're a channel member. Please reserve your ton of questions, channel members, for the Ask Me Anything. Be kind to your fellow subscribers here. And without further ado, I'll do a high time frame analysis. Just kind of give you my opinion. Opinions are like a-holes. Everybody has one, and sometimes they work properly. Adobe probably coming down here. This has been on the chart for a couple years. That's the target. Lower low. Right there on Adobe. Hate to burst your bubble, but that's probably where Adobe's going. App. Didn't make the breakout. Came back for a double bounce Target's still 786. What is that? 788. Right there, 788. Still looking for that to come up there. Stop is dollar below low. So if we get down there, trade's a bust. And Kratos. Man, at the target. Watch out for the retrace. AEVA. Tried for the entry, didn't make it. So entry on a close above that 618 level. Right there at 22. If we don't close above 22, which we haven't, there's no entry. If we do close above 22, target's right up here. 48. Anything in between? Well, since we bounced off the 618, there's potential. Take a trip down here to 5. It's pretty vicious. This qualifies as low price stuff. Stuff that's been hanging around 20 bucks is low price stuff, and my patterns don't always work on low price stuff, so be careful. Carvana, working on a retrace back to the roadmap line. Hit the target. Retraced. Hit our head on a lower high. That sets up for the potential retrace here. Ding, ding, ding. Right back to the roadmap line. Would be what I expect. Can it go higher? Sure. Is it very high probability at this point? Not, but without a retrace. Docu. Well, it's no longer the 5 up. Dipped on down to the target zone. Gosh darn it. I hate when these targets work. So, looking for this to hold support here. If we don't, come back down to the lows. Right over there. Dadgummit. I'm selling a 54 put. I've got a number of shares from up here. Can't remember where exactly I got put. I guess 72 maybe. See if I can pull it up really quickly. I mean, full disclosure, right? I'm in this trade. I'm long shares. I did add a 54 put today. Let's see. Trading long. Let's pull this over. Let's see. Trades. Looking for docu. There it is down there. So I've got, I was at 78 originally. Cost basis break even 71.66. Did that 54 put today. You see it right there. I got 20 cents for it. That'll bring my cost basis down. So I've got realized profit of 1,900 bucks in there. Yeah. And by doing that on this right here, DOCU. Yeah, there's the plan. That should bring my break even down in the 67 area. If I get put. Of course, I'll have more money locked in there, so the break even will be just slightly lower. And we'll see what happens. So that's docu. Looking for it to hold there. That was the target, almost right in the middle. Could dip to 54, but we'll see. Back to the request. Google. I cover that every morning, so you should really just go on the morning show and look at the analysis for Google. It's probably going to be more in depth than what I can cover here. ONDS. Banging its head on the prior high. I mentioned that may be a resistance. Roadmap line retrace would be kind of expected. Low price stuff. Be careful. All the things I said. Yeah, I can hit Google. I like GOGL better. Charts better. Follows the patterns better. You can trade GOG just the same. Big step back after hitting the 337 fib line. May need to retrace to 304 before we take a step up to 385. But if we don't hold 304, roadmap line would be the next support down here. And it's coming up at a pretty quick clip. So who knows where these would come together out here. And Garmin, really? It's just not been doing anything. Came up and it's just struggling here. Haven't been able to reach up to the 1618. And the longer we kind of fart around in here, the more it opens the door for a bigger retrace. The bigger retrace would be that low, that high, somewhere down here in the open up that tight move right there if we're gonna screw around in here for Garmin. And let's see. AVAV. It's like the same tickers every week. Nothing really changed here. Set up the upside targets. 457. Still it. Nothing changed. Pull back. You know, this can come all the way back down here to 276. Stop out is dollar below the low, so 227 would be a stop, but 276, 275. Secondary bounce. See that a lot. Amazon was working on that today. Almost got there. And kicked off the entry with a 265 target. Coming down for the secondary bounce. Then maybe we can go on up. And SMR. And it just hadn't even made it up here yet. Still grinding on down. Looks pretty bad, honestly. If this just goes down from where we are. Yeah, that's the support right down there around $7. Didn't even make it up to the 618. Just keeps grinding lower. So $7 would be the downside on SMR TGLS. I gave this one up a long time ago. We hit the ABC target and then rejected. Yeah. I got in down here. I got out up here. Now we're back down here. Bummer. Came up just shy of the target. Just, oh man, just shy of the bottom of the target. So, let's see. Yeah. If we can hold on to this 618, break back through the daily roadmap line, it's potential. This was a 1, 2, 1, 2, and we could go higher. It was really deep though, and it overlapped that over there. So more likely we would go further down if we don't get back above that roadmap line. And I made the like 200% on that one and bailed. So I've been off of that for a while. Got in back in November 23, as it says, and I don't remember when I got out, but it was up here. And we spiked up, and then we pulled back, and I got out right in there. Yeah. Anyway. Spucks. Keeps sucking. So my options, my $100 January options rolled off last Friday. So I got nothing. And Starbucks has been doing nothing for 5 years, 6 years. Wow. Can't break out of the funk. So summer 2019 was kind of when we put the kibosh on the trend and we started just chopping in here like at EKG, and probably going to keep doing that for the foreseeable future. And been able to break out, and you know, we tried valiantly and failed back into chop. So take a bunch of these off the chart. It just at this point is in this dead choppy sideways. Can't break down, can't break out. Watermelon seed squeeze type stuff. Lower highs, slightly higher lows, and it may just continue chopping in here for a while. Bummer. The way to mess up a good chart there. So I wouldn't touch it. I mean, it's done nothing for 6 years. Why would you want to? Why would you want to get involved in that? I tried, failed. Anyway, moving on. NATR. Just in case anybody wonders, you know, here's my all-time profit. I started this account, or refunded this account, tax day in 2025, right here at 0. Here we are now, almost $60,000 profit. It'll be darn close today after the close. 60,000. Booked a nice little win today. You can see I trade stuff like DocU, DJT, TSLA, IBIT. If you want to see all the trades, kmfo.com/Jeffry right there. Go check it out. I think all you have to do is make an account to be able to see all my trades right there. Otherwise, if you just go there, you just see the first trade. Links in the description if you want to go check that out. I am 1 week away from not having a loss on the books in 3 months. So another week. Get out here the 29th. So next week, should be able to have 3 months without taking a single loss. So if you wonder, like, do I actually make money? Yeah, these are all verified trades. Every trade's verified. This is just a verification thing. It's not a trading platform or anything like that. All my trades are uploaded every night and verified. So these are all real live trades. Real live money, real live profit. 3 months, $30,000. 1 month, almost $11,000. The goal on this account is to build this into an account that generates $50,000 a month, which, don't have to tell you, I've got a ways to go. 11K is less than 50K. So, probably take me another couple of years to get there. So when I say I don't trade Starbucks, I don't trade Starbucks. It kind of sucks. NATR, trying to break out here. Going to switch to a higher time frame. Ooh, nasty, nasty, nasty. Remember what I just got done saying about Starbucks? So the last 30 years, that hadn't been able to go anywhere, and I probably wouldn't mess with that. For me, it's not trending. It's not the kind of stuff that, I mean, sure, short term you can maybe make a buck or two, but hitting the highs, probably going to retrace. Historically, that's kind of about the top for NATR. Lunar. If this bounce hits the target, 30 would be, man, this thing fudged it up right here. So it had a really nice looking pattern that was kind of bullish, but then we overlapped. So this is looking more like an A, B, C high, move down, retrace. While it can still go higher, set up for a downtrend. Be careful on Lunar. Kraft Heinz still grinds into the abyss. Trend is down, and the target is potentially down here at like 16. Back to the lows, and if we break down 16 extension. Firm. So these guys stand to benefit from cancellation of credit cards if that takes place, if the Trump administration actually limits credit card exposure. So far, this has not gotten a close above 82.88. If and when we do, upside up here. But this is taking way too long for this consolidation, and it's probably just going to disappoint and fart around. I filtered out my algorithm here. Won't take a trade because this has just been too much sideways for it to take a trade. Too much sun. Now it's possible that this little bitty baby bounce right here does get some upside, 86, but that'll still be inside this bigger consolidation. So if we can pop up, get above 78, 85, potential to come on up to 86, 87, but then I'd be looking for another retrace. Something like that. Boring, I know. Hog has been disappointing for me for a lot of years, and looks like it's still disappointing. Just can't get out of its own downtrend here. So it's a giant watermelon seed squeeze with higher lows. If we break down below that, watch out. And lower highs. It's a very, I point this out because it's a very unreliable pattern. Comes over here, then does it break out or does it break down? It's kind of a coin flip. Whenever it does finally break, be careful. Highly unreliable. And it can fake out. It can, no guarantee that the first breakout is going to be the way it goes. It could do this, or it could do this, or it could just rip, or it could just dip. It's very unreliable. I find it to be hard to make money on that pattern. Very hard. Tried it over and over, and just hasn't really worked out. TFSL. Well, that looks pretty nasty. Little baby bounce in here. But that's not a trend. It's just dying volatility. It's kind of like an EKG that's going flat. I wouldn't touch it. Wouldn't touch it. Wouldn't touch it with your money. I wouldn't touch it with my money. DPZ has a long-term downtrend cooking. Oh, we're almost there. 360. That's the target. Goose, if you're on here, man, look at this. I predicted this. When was it? Back in 24? I don't remember. I've been keeping track of this for a long time, but maybe Sledge, do you remember? Shoot, man. And if it gets worse, we could take a trip down the 250 area, but because we've got this high up here, this low, this lower high, and the potential for this to go all the way down in here. But near-term target 360, bigger term 250 down here. Dang. Crazy. ANF. Choppy. So this did a three-wave thing. Hit a three-wave target. Even though it took the long way of getting there. And rejected. So it's hard to say. Was this the low or is this the low? Not sure. If we just go with this being the low, that move up, that retrace, if we can hold on to the roadmap line, bounce 139 would be the upside. We can take a trip up there. If we don't hold on to the roadmap line, the 618 right down in here, somewhere in that 80 neighborhood, 85 neighborhood, possibly down to 76, somewhere in this zone. I want to see it bounce there if we're going higher. So initial support, trigger if we're going long, Otherwise, if we get below that, I want to see it hold here and turn back higher, and then the roadmap line would be your trigger for potential bigger upside. That's the way it works for ANF, ALB. Yeah, not really any different. Got this grind zone, got to get through. Be on the way up to 700. It's going to take a while. The speed this dropped and the next climb is going a little faster, so you could expect a pullback, but it could be out here in 27, 28. There'll probably be pullbacks along the way. Nothing really changed there. BAL, upside target. 77, 90, 142 if we really get spicy. Coming up into that 76 target here. For DAL. Doesn't mean there won't be pullbacks, but that's the target. CRM. Watch out below. Oh, we're low, we're low. This could finish it up if we just go ahead and dive down here like 190. Just rip the band-aid, get it over with. I've had this target on here for a long time. Well over a year. And when we started dropping off the high here, I drew this down here. That's CRM for you. Beam. Already hit the target. Watch out for the retrace. That's a downtrend still. Another one that commonly doesn't follow is biotech pharma. So anything in the biotech pharma sphere might not follow patterns. Should be cautious. BSX. Anything the Food and Drug Administration gets involved in just kind of doesn't always follow the patterns. Med specialty would fall in that category also. Here's the initial move down, the retrace, and possibly we were able to find support in this zone. If not, things can get a little spicier to the downside here. And if we don't hold that, well, it's got a long way to go back to the breakout. Down in here. BSX for you. BRKB. So they've built an $80 billion a year cash engine. And this does not look like an $80 billion a year cash engine right now. You might say, what are you talking about? Well, they went to cash and bought treasuries with a large chunk of money. Get big cash pile, bought treasuries, and took some of that cash and converted it to yen. Took some of that treasury leverage and converted it to yen. Now the yen's kind of going crazy a little bit. We're seeing Bank of Japan, or Japanese government bonds kind of doing some crazy implosion stuff. NKD going a little crazy today. Big fat pullback. I mean, this thing gets worse. We could see this come down pretty swiftly and bring the U.S. markets with it. So, it's caution there. It's DJPY. It didn't really have much effect on the yen today. Although, their government bonds are going a little crazy, so chaos might ensue. But BRKB does not look super strong. Kind of watermelon seed squeeze, unreliable. UPS, did it make a bottom? Did it not? We're still got upside target here. We've made a higher high than this right here, but we're stalling out. We come back, retrace, retest the roadmap line, turn back higher. That's an initial bullish indication. Yeah. I guess the first thing we did was make a high higher than that high right there. Now we need to retrace, hold, turn back higher, break back above this high, and prove that we have some legs going here. For now, this would be an ABC type correction. Talked about this in the beginning. It's not really the proportions of a measured bounce, but it is the proportions of a correction. ABC. Continuation would be lower if we turn down back below the roadmap line at this point. Now that's the tell. We don't hold on to that. Probably going lower low than this low we made back here. That is like the COVID low back here. That'd be pretty bad for UPS. And CX. Christmas Island. CMX. Yeah, that finally broke out. No way. I haven't traded this in a long time because this downtrend had me convinced it was trouble. We failed to break out here. It was on my caution list. Now we're breaking up. Getting up into this level. But the all-time high up here still presents trouble. Here's the low. There's the first move up. There's the retrace. This is your trouble zone. When we get to there, watch out for that zone right there. Somewhere up in that 20, 25, possibly up to 30. We can get on up to 50. That'd be good for going higher again, but remember this all-time high comes over here. It's going to be trouble getting through that. ST. Do you mean SDNK? SDNK? SDSK? SNDK? Maybe that's what you mean? SanDisk? I'm guessing. Just ridiculous up. There's no pullback. I'm a trend pullback continuation trader. There's no pullback, so watch out. Run its course anytime. AMD, on the other hand, hitting our head on this 618. There was the low. Here's the 618. First move down, retrace. Next move down, right down in the roadmap line. That's what I want to see. That'd be the good stuff right there. Possibly could push down a little bit below the roadmap line, but anything lower low. That's all we need. One more touch of the bottom. Anything lower than that low right there satisfies this pattern. A, B, C, and then we can go higher. So right now I'm looking for that drop. Maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. Somewhere in that zone right there. That's what I'm watching for on AMV. Only been talking about that for like 3 months or something. CRDO. Need to close above 174 to get the 231 upside. Until that happens, watch out. Let's see. Roll the chat. Fermi, FRMI. Has no bottom in place at this point. That's the lowest low. 95% that does an IPO will go on to make a low lower than the IPO. But is that the last one? Is that the lowest? I don't know. That's the problem. That looks like 1, 2, 3, 4. And it could make a low down at 550. If the proportions of this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, those proportions play out, could be in for trouble. I did sell an 850 put today, so maybe a lucky owner of shares. We'll see. Find out. It's an interesting project if you haven't looked at it. Jack and I talk about it quite a bit. So if you want to know more about what Jack thinks and I think, you should come join us on Market Masters at 11:30. We talk about that pretty much. Jack's got like 4 positions. There's 5 positions going on this thing. I took a put today, so we'll see what happens. Fly. I'm off of this for now. Potentially topping out here. Could come up to that 36 area, but that was close enough right there. Starting to be kind of those proportions where we could get a pullback and continuation, maybe. If we can get back down in here in the 20s, that'd be a good spot to add again. But right now, I'd watch out for a bigger retrace. That's looking a little bit played out for me right now. Coming into that gap up too. Gap down resistance. It's hard to beat, and it may kick off a bigger retrace. So I went at this twice. Went at it right here, and then went at it right here, and just waiting at this point because this looks like we can take a spill right back down in here. Yep, that's fly for you. DAQT. 25.46 is the target. Stop is dollar below the low at 16. USAR. Spacklicious. That bubble probably played out. Watch out for coming back down. 1, 2, 3, and watch out. Things have a nasty habit of coming back down to the lows after doing that. $10 is kind of fair value. It's the SPAC price. But you don't understand the story. Yeah, I don't understand the story. Watch out. And BLDR. Builder's first source. That's the lowest low on this pattern. And that's a bearish, or that's an ABC proportion right there. Didn't grab the, there we go. ABC trend, pullback, continuation and lower. Not sold until we can break out above this resistance right here. Gotta get above that to go higher. Otherwise, still downtrend potential on BLD or CRVO. Servomed. Yeah, it's probably going down. That's a, oh, looky. What we got hiding? This is a dumpster fire. Repeated reverse splits. This company is bad at managing their stock price, and it's a pile of crap. Don't trade it. DEO. Oh, where does she go? How low does she go on Diego? 81 support, 63 below that. Yeah, I'm no real solid guess on where the bottom's gonna be, but go ahead and throw that low, that high. I would expect the bottom down here. Somewhere in the 58 to 60 area. Corresponds with the 63 I said earlier, so that's what I think for Diego. GE. So we did this bounce on a 4-hour. We hit the targets. Watch out for the retrace. Support right down here at 302. LUV. Southwest Airlines. So it did this choppy stuff. Coming on up. 1618 at 45. Watch out for the retrace. Right there. That's what I got. I would expect a retrace. I think it's probably played out. This is a downtrend, so be careful. It's counter trend right now. Lulu still has downside targets. I want to see that 140. Come on, 140. Possibly even down to 120. So that was a 3-wave retrace into the roadmap line, turned down pretty violently. Continuation down here. It's a bigger A, B, C, and this kind of wraps up down here. Been looking for a dip below 140 for a while. Yeah, see, consider selling puts on Lulu below 150 or 160. So, it's on my potentially bullish list, but hasn't finished up the bottom yet on Lulu. MBLY. Hey Sledge, I was talking about you a minute ago. Low price stuff, no bottom in place, didn't do a bounce. Continuation lower, $8, $9. Nasty. Nasty price action right there. TSLA. So smaller time frame, 4-hour bounce. Triggered the entry, $12 target. Simple as that. PLTR still has downside potential. Nothing changed. Look at this to dip back below the roadmap line and get continuation down here. Now it did set off the bounce pattern. If we can hold on to the roadmap line, you know, my bias says we're going down here. The price pattern that 75% of the time works out says we're coming up to 218. I put a target on this thing over here. We've stopped at it. And I thought we would retrace a little deeper after we hit that target. So it's kind of a giant head and shoulders with the potential breakdown coming down here. Be careful. Careful, be careful, be careful. Just keep your stop in place. 147 is the stop on the 218 target. And really, if we get below the roadmap line, it's probably coming down here. It's probably going to stop you out. MCHP, microchip. It's just been a lot of sideways. Big picture, this, I don't even know how big a picture this is, but big picture, it did a bounce. Monthly chart. humming along here. Retraced, hit that roadmap line on the monthly, moved up, triggered the entry, secondary bounce, and we're set to push on out to 116. If this thing could get extra crispy spicy, first move up, retrace. Next move up could put us up here, but I would watch for this resistance right here. Bounce down before we get on up there. So it's a monthly chart. 45 candles on average is how long these plays last, starting right here. So that's 4 years for the average. Could take a little while. And there's the market back open. Looks like we have about 4 minutes and we'll switch over to a members only stream. Channel subscribers, thanks for being here. And I will hit as many of your tickers as I can before we switch over. And yeah. So SNDK. Yeah, I already hit that one. Nike. Channel members, there's nothing you have to do. You just stay on the stream and we'll switch over and keep going. I'll hit all the tickers on this chat, and then any on the new chat that opens up for you after we switch over. So Nike has made the first move up off this major low back here. Can we stick this low? That looked good. This calls it into question. Failed at the roadmap line. Made a lower low, failed at the roadmap line again. If this doesn't hold higher low, we're probably on a path to make a lower low than we made back here in April of 25. Bummer. So looking for this to hold on to 60. If we get below 60, niche Keats, not good. No bueno. Not good. If we get below that zone right there. Probably setting up a path to make a lower low than 52. That would be Nike. Yeah, mid 24 for DPZ. RSL, finally catching up to the chat. And as long as we hold here, it's potentially bullish. Hold on to that. As long as we can hold it, break through the roadmap line. 618 upside. But if we get below this, could fire off a bigger, deeper retrace back down in the 100 area. May hold on to that prior low at 120. It's not, there's no high probability stuff in here though, so it gets to be questionable. We could bottom here, could bottom here. It could be a bottom in here, could be a bottom in here, could be a bottom here. It just, as long as we keep pushing down, those are the levels. So right here is where we need to hold if we're going higher. Then we got to get through the roadmap line. Then we got to get through the 618. And then we got to push on up to a new high. So that's a lot of stuff that Oracle's got to do to get a good trade, either up or down. Bar. Nothing. That's just so nasty. The price action right there. Probably coming back to the roadmap line. Nasty price action. Costco. Yeah, that made the bottom. It gets through a 618 upside target right there at 1133, 1150. I guess 1120 first and 1150 and 1133 is right in the middle. Beautiful pattern. Yeah, this one did that watermelon seed squeeze thing back here. Popped out, consolidated, it popped out the second time, then retraced. Now we're looking for expansion. That was a trend, a pullback, and now continuation for Costco. RGTI. This thing retraced the roadmap